What's going on, ladies and gents? Jake, coming to you live. That's right, Jake, a.k.a. Countdown Ended, here once again with my buddy, the one, the only Judgment Day era. That's right, we got Cody in the house. What's going on, my good friend?
How's it going? What a show last night.
What a great show last night. We are just totally in the Renaissance era of wrestling. Things couldn't really be better at this point in time. I am just enjoying and loving what we've got happening so far. Twists and turns abound. Rhea Ripley, no longer the champion. You know, we kind of discussed it a bit the other day. We made a joke going back and forth saying, hey, what's going to happen here? You know, it makes more sense having Io go ahead and be the one that, you know, just always is the thorn in the side for Rhea. Rhea can't beat her. She can't take her down. She's never been able to topple Io Sky. We've got that story there, and they're just going to rush it for a Raw. Seemed a little odd.
Yeah,
and, yeah, they took her out of the chamber. It's interesting.
I guess that was their only logical way to make it a triple threat match. And, again, as I mentioned the other day, like, the most logical way of it being a triple threat match was Rhea, Liv, and Io, because that was the history. Bianca really has nothing to do with either of them right now. And
not right now. I mean, the NXT, they came up together. They had history there, and that's kind of been the thing. I mean, the history all comes from essentially the black and gold era and NXT. So they have a lot to do to kind of sell this friendship. I mean, it was a betrayal in a sense. You're seeing, and they did it so well. They have Bianca be out there, and she's cheering on Io, not Rhea. And you can see it bother Rhea. And I really enjoy the layers to this. Yet again, long-term storytelling. You know, she got betrayed essentially by Dominic. She left the Judgment Day behind, took on Liv, you know, and she had her title, but she was alone. And as she said, she cut this great promo backstage. Kathy finds her and interviews her afterwards. I wish I could play the whole thing, but she goes on and on to say that she's just isolated. She's alone. She's isolated. There was no friends. There was no one there to come help her, no one to cheer her on, no one to fall back into, and she did it to herself. She screwed over Io essentially by ruining her chances of getting into the chamber and, you know, by attacking Liv, and this is her punishment. She brought it on herself. So I don't know about you, but it was certainly a surprise, but I kind of saw this a little bit coming, I feel like.
I was shocked personally. I didn't think they were going to pull the trigger that quickly. I thought they were going to insert Io Sky somewhere else down the line. And I think last night was going to be some fuck finish, like a DQ where Io gets screwed again. I didn't know they were going to actually just pull the trigger and give her the championship. I guess in a logical way.
Hell of a move, yeah.
Because now Rhea can say, well, I want a rematch clause. But then again, is it that logical? Because, again, other people haven't gotten rematch clauses lately. Like Liv was the last one to hold it before there. And then,
yeah, and she didn't get. Pretty much they've gone down to it, and they have it where it's no longer guaranteed. You're not guaranteed anything. You have to earn it, and we'll get into that word "earn it" because Punk brought up some great stuff early on, especially going over to not having John Cena, Cody, The Rock. You're following up this big night, so
love the promo that Punk did.
Punk saved the show, honestly, if you ask me. And with that hot pipe bomb of a promo that he cut early on against everybody being his enemy, again, fantastic. We're in a state now with wrestling where they're telling multiple stories. As where before, especially with Vince, you would have one major overarching story and people would kind of fall in line to it, but they wouldn't be doing anything themselves. They'd just be actors in that bigger story, you know, a la Zack Ryder and the John Cena thing. Now we get people having their own motivations, their own tales, their own woes, their own trials and tribulations. So again, with Rhea, she's got issues with Bianca, and she's never beaten Io. But we also have this wild card factor in that Bianca had the tag titles with Naomi, and now Jade is back, so we don't know where she falls in line with that. After destroying Naomi the other day, is Jade going after Bianca? Do we still end up getting a one-on-one match with Ripley and Belair at Mania. I mean, I could see this being a fatal four-way, honestly, not even so much a triple threat. A lot of people are throwing around the words triple threat for everything, but for this one, I almost see it more being a four-way. You've got Jade involved, who eventually will want to kill Bianca, I'm sure. You've got Bianca, who's no longer supporting Rhea, who just lost her title to Io, who now is going to Mania in 46 days. I mean, we've got a lot of time left, so you've got to find a way to do things. And we saw that with them adding A-Town down to the Uso story. They're finding ways to kind of pad the runtime where it's not going to be you waiting for Mania. And sadly, these are where we kind of lose the way. They throw out some of these mid-level matches typically, and everything else is like, oh, you're waiting for Lesnar and Roman to come out to do their big promo, and they're going to have the tug-of-war and maybe a pull-apart brawl, but that's it. The thing that shocked me, as you said, is the announcements for next week already. I mean, they are firing full ahead. All cylinders go. They're not waiting. And if anything, I'm kind of shocked that we're not getting Punk and Seth in a steel cage match further out. It's going to be next week on Raw, and we'll get into that as well. But that's a
I have
hell
an
of an
announcement
announcement.
next week, bro.
Yeah,
I'm
what a
going to
major
next week, bro.
thing. You're going to be there,
I'm
so
going. Yeah. So I can't wait.
you're going to have
I
a
was
great
shocked.
time. Where is it next week?
Madison
It
Square
is
Garden.
okay. That is the Madison Square Garden show. You got to go during Christmas to see the MSG show, and you had a blast there. That was the one where Punk was running out in his towel. You sent us some great, videos and whatnot. You had a
Oh, that was
blast. I think this might top it, my friend. You're getting a hell of a Raw. I mean, as we continue to lay down tonight and what happened last night on Raw, we'll talk about NXT in a bit. Next week, you're getting CM Punk and Seth Rollins in a steel cage match. That alone, I mean, we were so excited to see them battle for really brand supremacy on the Netflix debut a few weeks back. Punk won, Seth lost. He got that bruise on his cheek from a brutal GTS, and it kind of seemed like their paths were going in different directions. But like two ships sailing in the night or magnets in the same direction, they're just, pulling together. It's opposites attract. And we start off Raw last night. CM Punk comes out fired up. He's ripping pissed. So not only did he have the match essentially won at the Chamber, he takes out Seth, takes out Cena. It seems like he's gonna dominate John, and then Seth hits him with the stomp. Cena cinches in the STF, gives him the "I'm sorry, I love you" Ric Flair WrestleMania 24 kind of ending, and he passes out. And John Cena is facing Cody Rhodes. And then, as we know, Cena sided with The Rock. He's the new People's champion, and it led to Punk being ripping pissed, rightfully so. Not only is he screwed out of his Mania main event by Seth Rollins, but he's got to deal with a fake that is, The Rock and Cena. That pipe bomb that he cut early on, like I said, I cannot emphatically state it enough. He truly, truly saved this show. Just like Paul just said, fully hard now that this review is happening. I'm fully hard now that CM Punk was able to just completely capture the audience in a way that he kind of is always able to do, but not to this level. He got people, they were banging on the rafters and the sides. They were smashing their hands on the barricade like people wanted to see him destroy. So he comes out there and he is just going off. He is telling The Rock that he is a bald fraud. He said, "You think because you're on the board of directors, you're immune from criticism? You don't know who you're dealing with. You're dealing with the best in the world. I'd love to say it to your face, but The Rock's not here, right? What's not to love?" And this is going to be the issue. This is kind of a crux with Mania. It's happened many years before. It happens again. When you have these big stars not here for the big moments, it gets upsetting and it gets to be a bit, I don't want to say boring, but it does tend to be a little bit lackluster. You know, we can't see John Cena on a regular basis because he's not there. He's busy filming. It's a bit heartbreaking. So we heard right after the chamber, John flew back. First, he was in Budapest, I thought. Now he's in Africa filming the rest of the Matchbox movie. So, hey, all right. But Punk goes ahead. He continues to just berate and tear down everyone. I'd love to say all this to The Rock's face, he says, but he hasn't graced everyone with his presence tonight. And he's like, oh, you know, you got your goosebumps. And, you know, he made fun of him for that, saying, you know, you have to pretend like you feel something. I never wore a fake title belt and referred to myself as a champion. I earned being the people's champion. I've never been so desperate to sell my soul. He said, you can't see me. We can all see you. And he said, you know, I gave you the benefit of the doubt. I let your history allow you to enter the chamber based on merit and what you've accomplished. But I'm not going to let you fool me twice. You didn't earn it then. You didn't earn it now. He said, you've been selling the bullshit that you've been selling the kids forever. I've always seen through it. And Mr. Don't Quit gave up on himself and all those kids. And the last line that he said here was so damn epic, you could make a shirt out of it if you could. He said, you know, I'm going to see you down the road, and I'm going to get your hands on both of those bald frauds. And he said, they'll make a wish. They never did.
Oh, that was a line. That's a line of a year right there.
That line, you're not wrong, Cody. That line is beyond line of the year. That's line of the century. Knowing what they did with the turn, and John was literally hours before sitting with people, you know, for the Make-A-Wish. There's this kid on Twitter. His name is Steven. And he's been incredible. He actually has the same brain malformation I do. He's got Chiari, and he's been through multiple brain surgeries. So he's got another one than I do. He's got two. I only had one.
Right.
And he's at Steven's wrestling journey, and the promo kid, they call him. He was actually with former friend of the show, Jaron, Small Afro Games, so shout out to him. He was cutting some shorts with him over the weekend, and BDE and others. But he got to meet his hero, John Cena, this weekend. You see him, he's got his IV pole and everything with him behind him, and he's like, everyone that made this happen, I can't thank you all. And Cena was telling him about his favorite movie was Playing with Fire, because that's where he met his wife, and that's someone that inspires him. And like, he just had this really personal, sweet moment with this kid.
He had to, because he knew this is one of the last times.
Right? Like, this has been Steven's journey. The entire time was to meet Cena, so he did it on the very essentially last possible moment. Totally incredible. I'm just blown away. Absolutely blown away. John Cena being healed. That's one of those things that
love it. Needed it.
So many people predicted it. It was needed, and it's revolutionary, and I think it changes the landscape of this business and the build for Mania, but it's going to affect things going further. I mean, it's John's last year. People have wanted this for decades.
I said that Cena's heel turn is bigger than Hogan's, and people said you're stupid. No.
People said that to me as well. They said you're insane, and I genuinely agree with you, because John Cena was infallible. Hogan had issues. He kind of went through things, but Hogan wasn't at his peak. He wasn't retiring. John has stayed at the top for the entire course of his career. As I was stating with you and others the other day, I mean, they had to, when he went to WCW, create heel after heel and make stables and do all these things to play to Hogan's ego. You know, he kept just beating everybody, but people didn't care. The NWO was happening without him. He wasn't the third man originally. It wasn't a plan. This was a plan. John Cena planned to turn heel. Hogan was a point of self-survival. John could have stayed face for the rest of the year and rode out on his laurels, and people would have bought tickets to see him and celebrated his appearance. He sells out shows. He makes things happen. People like seeing him. It was going to happen. But him as a heel.
I can't wait to see what promos he cuts, like his attitude.
Everything. I mean, we've seen the slow changes and the little adjustments. They've been hinting at this for such a long time, but I myself personally did not believe that this would ever be a possibility. I truly did not believe that this would be a reality. A
That
bunch of people said, "Oh, Cena will be the one to turn heel," but for it to really happen, I did not fathom.
this is why you need segments like this, backstage little pieces like this, because the New Day, for example, are looking for people that are willing to accept them for what they did.
Yes.
And John Cena, out of all people, the last person you would think that would accept their actions, he might be the one to actually accept them.
Yeah. No, and no, the internet wasn't around, when really a thing when Hogan's turn happened, and it was massive and it was revolutionary.
Yeah.
But my point is that came out of selfish self-survival. Hogan heard about the thing, said, "Oh, that would be great. This is really hot. The outsiders are huge. They're getting sued by WWE for being too much like their former selves, and they're worried that they're going to have those characters. So now WWE, WWF at the time, is making fake Diesel and fake Razor and just shooting themselves in the foot, falling over backwards over this." And Hogan was able to, as he always does, make it his. And he climbed in. He was the third man. And I'm not saying him going heel wasn't against everything that he stood for, and also not something people thought possible. But I don't think he was at the level. I don't think it was. I mean, you had people turn. You had people mad. I remember people. I watched it days later, but I watched it at that week that it happened with my step grandfather. And even then, I was like, "Oh, all right. I like the bad guys. Maybe he'll be interesting." But it was just more of the same. It was just more Hogan, but as a face,
I don't adults
as
anyway,
a heel. Excuse me. Yeah.
like I've watched old clips of Hogan and Cena. Like I don't understand how people could love Hogan but hate Cena. Like they're the kind of same. Like burying wise, who do you think buried worse?
I think Hogan absolutely buried people more. John has always been about business. John is on a 1,000+ day, singles match losing streak. Yes, he won at the Chamber, but that was a multi-man match. He still has not won a singles match in thousands of days. John has not been able to not put people over in a very long time. You look at the last matches he had. He lost to Solo Sikoa, very single-handedly. Got his ass beat there for the purpose of the story.
The Nexus. People bring up the Nexus, but besides Wade Barrett, Bray Wyatt became his own character eventually. But who in that group really had potential to be a top star? Saying, "Oh, you buried this group," but outside of Wade Barrett, who had the potential?
There weren't many. I mean, David Otunga certainly wasn't going to be. Skip Sheffield and Ryback wasn't going to be tearing down, doors for ticket sales either. You're not wrong. I think Barrett was kind of the one to truly epitomize charisma in that group, and everyone else was just cannon fodder that followed suit. And even when Punk took over, it showed.
Vince still tried with Wade. I think they tried giving him the Intercontinental Championship. I think Vince still tried with him, but
yeah, they had the League of Nations. They bad news. He tried. It just he never got to that level.
Wade kept getting hurt, and I don't think it's
happened.
Yeah. Why? Alex Riley, I know. I saw something with him earlier today.
Yes.
What did Cena do to him?
Cena was a big douchebag to Riley, and that has been reported and covered extensively. So the story, as I know it, and from what I've been told, reported, so on, is that John and Alex Riley, when he first got there, were drinking buddies, and John kind of pulled Alex Riley under his wing. And this is when John was in his very heavy, hectic drinking days. Right. And Alex Riley was not keeping up. He was showing up to work still reeking of booze and hungover, and just, he wasn't the machine Cena was. He hadn't been in the business as long, and so he kind of eventually was being told, hey, you're fucking up. You're not doing great. You need to slow down on the partying. So he went up to John and he was like, hey, I'm not drinking anymore. I need to slow my roll. And I guess John took serious offense to this. I mean, this is the story, but... And from there, they butted heads, and John killed his push and bitched about him to anybody that would listen. John
invented and Cena over Riley, even though I think Vince liked Riley, from what I heard.
From what I heard as well, yeah, and it's it's unfortunate that that's where this went between these two, and it just became this big real life feud. And I mean, John wasn't the only reason Alex Riley failed. There were other things to it. Riley was supposed to eliminate John from the Rumble in 2011. He botched his spot, and Cena had to be eliminated in a different way. And
that's a
so
big thing.
he was
Vince doesn't
getting,
take that lightly.
yeah,
Well,
and while they're having the stuff backstage too, this is when they turned Riley face by separating him from the Miz, and he was going to have a program with Dolph Ziggler, and I guess Riley, that's when he got the hip injury, and then after that he just kind of became an afterthought. And I guess
I'll be right back if you want to.
yeah, go right ahead. And unfortunately, these things have ended up happening multiple times in the past, or pushes get destroyed and backstage politics come over. But I don't think you can point to many other instances of Cena doing this, because he's turned around and really committed himself to putting over younger talent. And John was that prototypical good guy. He was the first one in the building and the first one out. He was there to work his ass off, and it showed for a long time. Hustle, loyalty, and respect was more than just a thing. And he said, I think it came down, we just didn't like each other. From when he talked to Chris Van Vliet, from my memory, I remember them saying not long ago when they had that interview that he just didn't care for him. And also talking about this big, main event heel turn right now as well, is the injury that Cody Rhodes is facing. So Travis Scott reportedly injured Cody Rhodes during the heel turn on the Elimination Chamber Premium Live event. So Cody got hurt. I'm pretty sure it was Travis that did it. I heard he had a busted eardrum and a black eye. So what I'm reading now is a perforated eardrum. So that's a lot worse than previously anticipated. And
sorry about that.
No, absolutely. A perforated eardrum being ruptured like that. There's a lot of it's bad. So it can cause severe states of like vertigo and dizziness, unsteadiness. You can have hearing loss.
Slapping them like that.
Well, it can cause more than just pain and dizziness, but it can cause like a severe case of nausea as well, because your system is not draining properly with the swelling. It's got a lot of problems to it, and it's not something that you can really do anything for except wait. It's got to take its time to heal. So I mean, talk about the elephant in the room. Travis Scott stuck out to begin with. He was there for the opening of Raw on Netflix at that debut, smoking weed in the ring, coming out with Jay, and late in his stage, whatever you want to call it. He goes ahead, and at this point, they've already got the shirt off. They choked Cody with the belt, or his necktie. They hit him with the belt. He's on the ground, and Travis goes over and he grabs one arm, not two, and he starts to pull Cody backwards. And I think he was supposed to do like, old torture method where John had the legs, Travis was supposed to hold both of the arms, and they were going to whip Cody that way so he couldn't, escape.
Like Cena, I think, was getting annoyed because I think he was supposed to hold his head down or something, because Travis was lifting his head up and Cena had to go and push it back down.
Yes, he did it more than once, and John did it gently too. Like Travis was just very ginger, you can tell, and excited, and kind of.
I think John was getting a little annoyed with him.
It seemed that way, and I don't blame John. So John went ahead and pushed his head down gently again, and that's when his head was turned, and Travis leaned in. And if you notice, like when the gentlemen slap each other, usually you aim for a certain spot in the face because you get the most reaction, you get the most noise. You cup your hand. Like there's ways to do it where it doesn't come across looking weak, but it's visually effective but not physically damaging. And that's kind of been the thing here. So you've got so many issues, and really, it's just like such a bad hit.
The physical stuff should have been done by Rock and Cena, who know what they're doing.
People that are trained, especially that spot, it kind of looked like it was a little ad-libbed or taken wrong. So Cody's laying face up, his ear is fully exposed, and Travis goes to slap him, but he comes straight down, hitting him on the side completely
Like
over
Travis
the ear.
Beat down or something.
Yeah, I mean the receipt he's got coming is gonna be brutal, and I don't know, it's weird. I'm not sure, but
Oh, you got a receipt coming.
he definitely has a receipt coming. I mean, he's got apparently a ruptured eardrum and a black eye. Somebody's going to get their ass beat. And the Rock said that, I love Travis. That's my guy. He wanted to get his hands bloody. So I whispered to him as we're going out, if you get your hands bloody, make it count. And he slapped the shit out of Cody. He was really hyped up. No kidding. So now,
Sure, Cody going to be that hard, or what? Did he agree to that?
I don't know, and we're going to have to wait to hear more because WWE reportedly has major plans for him, including a significant role beyond just making appearances. They have plans for him. Apparently, he was being trained with some wrestling moves and whatnot. So I don't know. It's definitely not a great way to ingratiate yourself with the fans, injuring Cody, and possibly ruining or putting in jeopardy this story at Mania. I know Cody will wrestle if he has no head attached to him, but still, you don't want to be injuring the main guy. It's not a good look, and it's not a good thing. But all in all, this intro with Punk is all encapsulating because he mentions, obviously, Cena, The Rock. He's not done with them. You've seen some people speculating that now we're getting the cage match next week with Seth, and Punk is going to end up facing The Rock at Mania. What do you think
really?
about that? That's kind of being discussed. It's nothing set in stone by any means. It's just a possibility. But looking at what they're going for right now, so Roman is not done with Seth. Roman got stomped. He got, hit hard. They got that double foot stomp at first and again on the stairs after the Rumble, after his elimination by Punk. So Roman is out for retribution, it seems like. What's he going to do? Well, we're not going to see him till they start the overseas, European tour coming up next week. And,
do you think Roman involved in the steel cage match next week, or do you think this is like an injury angle for Punk?
So that's my question. Is this the angle that goes ahead and leads? So Seth maybe does get beat, but because of Roman, and that leads to Seth and Roman at Mania. I could see Roman getting involved and being pissed off at Seth fucking him over and hitting him after the Rumble, and so he attacks Seth and that, or interferes somehow. That causes Seth to lose. That sets them up at Mania.
Does Punk get involved in this match too, or is he going to be in the feud with Rock's Cody?
So what do it end up being? So because if they have the cage match already, why do it now? It almost to me feels like they want to get Punk away from Seth, but they have to finish that story, and this is a way to tie things over. It's a big match at MSG, and it gets him to where they need to be, which would be facing The Rock. I mean, part of this promo here was him calling out Dwayne, who screwed over Punk multiple times now. The Rock. Dwayne The Rock Johnson has come back and taken Punk's main event and WrestleMania opportunities several times now. I mean, he did it back where he came at WrestleMania 29 and, took the title then and beat Punk for it at, the Royal Rumble. And then
that should have been a triple threat, Rock, Cena, and Punk.
It really should have been, and then Punk wouldn't have been arguing about a main event at all. But lo and behold, one of the best stories we have going is Punk seeking his main event. And what a better night one match than, hey, The Rock and Punk. And maybe it's for a stipulation for Cody or something for night two. I mean,
Punk wins, Cody gets something in his favor. If The Rock wins, Cena gets something in his favor.
That kind of seems like what it would be. And as he said, I've seen Rock for who he is all along. I want to take him down. I want to destroy him. And I agree with Liz. Travis Scott shouldn't have been in the ring at all. Cody's going to get his payback. The Rock, I mean, oof. God damn. I want to see what happens. That's the thing. I'm interested. So if he doesn't even wrestle this year, I'm okay with that. The Rock doesn't need to wrestle right now. But if he does, sign me up. Him and
Do you
him and Punk could be great.
do you think The Rock has someone else added to this whole thing because people are doing a finger thing? Like Rock was holding up 3 fingers at Bad Blood, and then 2. Is there one more?
I think I don't know if it's people, but I think it's a plan. I think he has steps. So phase 1 was the warning and seeing if Cody would join him. Phase 2 was the turn, and now we'll get the final step. So, and you know, at Bad Blood, Liz was there. She saw the beginning of it, the 1, 2, and then he did 3, and no one.
Was that a plan all along, or
It seems like it. You know, we heard that people reported that the Rock segment was supposed to be in the middle. It was supposed to take place before the men's chamber. And that was not the case, obviously. But that report was sent out earlier in the day. Why? Was it to mislead the audience and get people to not expect a big to-do until it was later on changed? Maybe. But it seems like WWE is in the mindset right now of pumping out some fake stories and fake reports to really mislead the dirt sheets. They're into a little bit of dissension.
more of that? I think they should keep doing that.
I like being surprised. I like, having expectations but being blown away. I kind of anticipated Rhea losing her title, as you said, maybe not this soon, but I saw something coming of it because the story more was Rhea never beating her, and did we get back to the one-on-one match? There's a lot there. But with Punk, he at the end tells Becky Lynch, "Come get your man." And Becky sent out a reply earlier as well. She said, catching up on Raw, "I don't think I'm the one who needs to come get my man."
I didn't end up seeing this on Twitter. I'm surprised.
Yeah, well, there's a reason for it. So she sent out this tweet, and what she's alluding to is obviously we have Roxanne Perez and CM Punk on the Elimination Chamber PLE. They wore matching ring gear, of the same style and color scheme. There's been a long-running gag that this is AJ and Punk's, wrestling daughter. They're not going to have kids, but they always say, Cora, Roxanne, that's their kids, and that's kind of been the joke of it. So she's kind of alluding to Punk being in some type of wrong relationship with Roxanne. Not a great look, but right. Hey, that was her response. Well, she deleted the tweet. She took it down.
Oh, she did?
Yes,
Why?
in less than an hour. So I don't know if she was told to, or if there was some fallout, or if she just thought maybe this isn't the way I want to address it, or I made my point, but she erased it. She got rid of it. So it is interesting to see what happens there.
Like, do you think someone was actually pissed about the Punk line, or was Becky actually mad about it?
She certainly could be. I mean, anything is possible. Hey, look, we're live. I'm going to let you take over really quick while I get the door. I'll be right back, my friend.
Alrighty, sounds good. Just to jump on the John Cena heel turn again, because I'm just obsessed with it, I think people are being too critical on the commentary because you're supposed to be at a loss of words. You're not supposed to react the whole time. Like, especially for someone like Cena turning heel, I don't think you're just going to react like it's natural.
Exactly. You wouldn't react naturally.
It's like misbelief.
You're exactly right, and that's why Pat's been so great. McAfee, he's a character all on his own, and so is, he really is Michael Cole coming into a new character.
He ruined the segment by saying, "That's the craziest things I've ever heard of saying." I think that's just being Pat. I like you being yourself more than robotic.
Exactly. Like, he's just going to give his actual opinion. And I like that they're not smartened up most times. They don't know what's going to happen anymore. So you're getting that immediate reaction. And UPS dropped off our new debit cards. Yay. Thank you, UPS. Let's go. Get out of my fraud bank accounts.
I've seen some podcasts and people on Twitter say, like, Michael Cole and Pat McAfee did a terrible job selling the angle. I'm like, no, they really didn't, because they're at a loss of words. Like, Michael Cole is like, what the?
What
Like,
are you supposed to say in that instant? I couldn't react. I couldn't. I didn't know what to do. I mean, Trekkopedia said it was a badass show last night, and they didn't have The Rock there. They didn't have Cena there. They're finding ways to set up the card to a certain extent. They're giving you ideas of what's going to happen. We have a few matches set in stone, but I'm loving the fact that we don't know everything that we're getting. It seemed like we were going to get Liv taking on Alexa. We could still get that, but that's not guaranteed with them being the tag champs. Raquel now going after the women's IC title against
so they
Lyra.
could end up losing the.
Yeah, I mean,
And he lives like posts on Twitter bragging, "Oh, Rhea lost her title. Rhea lost." It looks like something like the same fate could end up happening to them, because you're bragging about it too much, where it's gonna end up biting you in the ass, and you're gonna lose your title too. So that can end up Liv versus Alexa and Raquel.
yeah. I
And
agree
there's
with
a
Liz,
split.
Trek, all of them. The commentary was great. Screaming. What did you do, John? I was screaming too. Everybody was just baffled. I came on here not sure how to react.
Why was everyone so critical about the commentary? Like, Michael Cole did good, because as the beatdown progressed, he was like, after all of John Cena's accomplishments, he's gonna snoop to this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was doing good.
Real emotion. They showed
What?
real emotion. I think people aren't used to that either.
Like,
They're
it
used
was,
to the commentary guys being so just formulaic, as you said, and stuck in this wrestling WWE universe, where we couldn't have hospitals. You had, medical centers and things like that. So they go ahead and they manage to, I don't want to say isolate the fans, but they do in a way keep them from experiencing the realness of it. So when we get these type of angles and they're trying to make it feel impactful, it's like people want to find a reason to nitpick something. So like, oh, the commentary, that's always like the age old thing to come down on.
I
But
also,
sadly, they did a great job, I thought.
Twitter, like, they wouldn't let Pat McAfee say the lines that he does now if he was under Vince. I think he did that under Vince too. I don't think Vince really controlled him either.
No,
I think
didn't seem that way.
because Pat McAfee was known for cursing on commentary. This is holy shit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even under Vince, like,
Yeah.
people are saying Vince wouldn't have allowed Pat to say the things he
Yeah,
said.
there was one point where he said "holy," and I think Cole was like, "Say it." He's like, "Holy shit!" Yeah, like
Yeah, like, Vince allowed him to be free too.
yeah. Cole, great point, Trek. He was like, "Why does he need to sell out?" Because that was a great point. Like, why? We still don't know why. John had it. John had the main event of Mania in his
Like,
hands.
and I like how they sell it, how Wade always has hated John Cena, even with Cena turning heel. I like that too. Like, Wade's not going to be all happy and excited for him now doing this. I like how they
Exactly.
showed Wade's hatred for him. This is your boy, Cole. This is like, I like how they still continue on with Wade hating him as well. Like, that
Yes.
story.
As we said, we're getting characters who have true thoughts, feelings, and opinions instead of like, oh, you're heel on commentary, so you have to side with every heel no matter what. And that used to bother me because like you'd see JBL in a feud with somebody, on Twitter or something, and then he'd be on Raw defending them and talking about, and it's like just because they're heel, oh, I love Rusev and Rusev Day and all that stuff. Well, that's not the case if you're taking, so I like the authentic realness of it all. It certainly makes watching that much better.
Wade Barrett was even criticizing Kevin Owens, like this. I can't even defend his actions anymore. He's going way too far.
Absolutely. And, we did mention Rhea had that amazing promo after Raw, but we'll get to that again in the end. But
Where is that Rhea Ripley every week? I would love to see that more and more. I don't know where.
her talking about the isolation and just her causing her own downfall. I screwed EO out of the chamber, and my hatred for Liv blinded me there, and I thought I had a friendship in Bianca, and I am just isolated and alone. And it was powerful.
Not her fault, Rhea, but geez, Rhea fans are scary. You say one bad thing about them, they will start DMing you, and
They are dedicated.
Oh,
You
jeez.
get some death threats if you say anything about Rhea. So
Yes, I have gotten a few death threats
yeah,
from.
funny. Isn't that just like it's so terrible? Someone actually wishes you death over a wrestling opinion, but yet it's such an accepted norm of the day. You're just like, yeah, I got a few death threats because I said a character on TV isn't great.
Like,
Social media never change, right?
I like a wrestler and someone else doesn't. It's not going to
Mm.
bother. I don't think it really bothers these wrestlers because they're all friends
You
backstage.
got people fighting over politics and
Like,
everything and the such.
like you see, when Rhea and Liv had their feud, like these fan bases were going at it. I'm like, it's not that deep because they're friends in real life. I'm like, why are we?
Absolutely, and there was so many, like you said, times where things. It's okay to criticize. It's okay to not enjoy something. It's okay to not be behind someone or something. And I'm seeing a little bit more where people are feeling a bit more empowered with their opinion in a way where it's not I don't like this, it's I like this isn't for me kind of idea. Instead of being like I don't like, people seem to be broadening a bit more. And I think that's also because wrestling's doing a great job at giving something for everybody. And AEW had that kind of that market corner. That was their niche for a little
A
bit.
few years
Hey, we
before
got it
there
all.
happened, I was calling this here. I'm like, they just book great match after. I'm like, people are gonna eventually get sick of this. I called this to you. I'm like,
Yeah, you said that years back.
I'm
You
like, they're
know,
gonna dying because of this, and look where they are now.
you can
Unfortunately,
only have so many dream matches before you're like, all right, well, why am I watching these two fight? Yeah, it's great, but
they don't have story. I think
yeah, you cheer when they come to the ring because you like these two characters, but then you hear silence through the entire match. That's why there's no investment. Look at how
that's what
much we got out of last night with just Otis and Gunther.
that's why WWE will always be better because they have story throughout a match.
Exactly. Otis is this big goof, and but he's strong and he's very caring and he's loyal, so people want to see him do well. Gunther's this tyrannical badass that's just destroying anyone in his way. But you
And
look at the size difference. It's like, oh, how can Gunther topple this? But he body slammed him like it was nothing at one point. It was pretty impressive.
follow all independent wrestling like that because like I'll ask like what is the story between these two and like this AEW diehard will tell me, well, they had this one match one time in Alaska in a barnyard somewhere years and years ago. That's why they're feuding today. I'm like, oh, I didn't know about all that shit. Like this is what AEW diehards do when you ask. They're like, well, do the research yourself. I'm like, no, it's supposed to be the show's job to tell us the story.
If you told me fans would be chanting loudly for Otis, that you'd have an Otis chant break out in the match against Gunther last night on Raw, it's like real. But that's what we got. I mean, they told a great story. They let Gunther's cocky and arrogant ways kind of get the best of him.
Gunther is so good.
He's so great, and he's so excellent that typically he's a step ahead unless his narcissistic behavior, as I said, gets the best of him and kind of takes him back a step. So Milo agrees, but we have Otis going ahead, and he pulls out the caterpillar, gets this great near fall, almost wins, and oh, look at that. He gets picked up and clotheslined again and again, and now we have more Otis chants happening, and then Gunther power bombs him. Otis, big ass Otis, power bombs him clean as day. After the match, he's got Otis in the sleeper, so Akira Tozawa runs in, and that's the thing. Tozawa, knowing he's going to get his ass beat, knowing he's going to get destroyed, doesn't stop. He jumps on top of Gunther's back. He's going to try and help his friend, and he's just about to get power bombed, right on top of his friend, and Gunther stops because he hears Jey Uso coming out, and that's when they start attacking each other. And this is where WWE succeeds. So instead of just having a segment here of Jey and Gunther again, just going back and forth, I'm going to win, no, I'm going to win, you had Gunther in a match that made him more of a heel. You had Jey being a savior, which makes him more of a face. You have people wanting to get Jey get revenge because he gets his ass kicked in the end, and you get more matches and story out of it because now they have Theory and Waller, A-Town Down Under, come out. They're the new heels on Raw. They're trying to make a bigger name for themselves. What better way than to attack the upcoming main event of WrestleMania? So they have bad blood with Jey. They attack him. You know,
I don't.
you,
When's this Austin Theory face turn happening? By the way, because they teased us for
a
uh,
long
a
time now. They
year
they
now.
had that moment on NXT where you really thought like, hey, these guys are going to turn against each other with the Obafemi match. We didn't get it yet. So there's a point in this where they both get to go and do their double team move, and all of a sudden Jay gets out of the way, and Theory almost gets laid out by Waller, but they stop and they spare a second, and that's when Gunther comes in and puts Jay in the sleeper and takes him out. So we're getting a match next week, as we had mentioned on Raw. We're going to get Jay Uso versus Grayson Waller, and then we'll probably have the week after a match with Theory. We could see Jay needing to get a partner and do a team match, tag team. This takes up the next few weeks. It gives us something to do. It doesn't lose focus on Gunther. It makes Jay get cheered because he's against other heels, and it doesn't make the Gunther Jay thing feel boring. It's not beaten
What
for the next 5 weeks.
What are you gonna do? Have Gunther beat him up every week? Like that's gonna just get repetitive and boring, and no one
But we've
see that.
seen this before. We would see the Rumble happen, and somebody would win. I always go back to it, but really that year, the 2015 one where Roman won, and then it was just him and Lesnar pulling at the title for months, and that's all it felt like. Oh, we got the backstage thing where Paul Heyman basically started the bloodline and talked about Roman, how he knew his family longer than he did, and that was the start of the bloodline, really, if you want to go back for it. But as you mentioned, it just, all of these things, they're building everybody up. It's always just, there's so many parts, and obviously the sum is bigger than the whole, so
Triple H likes to take more risks than Vince did because, like, he's trying to build new stars because Lyra Valkyria would never be women's intercontinental champion. I don't think under Vince it would be the same like cast of characters. Like he only trusted Alexa, Bayley, Sasha, Charlotte, Becky. Like it was the same cast of characters with Vince. Same with the men's division. It was always Cena, Orton, Rollins, Roman. Like he only trusts a certain amount of people, and Triple H, on the other hand, likes to actually elevate everybody, which is good.
yeah. And then we got this really great promo from Karrion Kross backstage. So AJ Styles is talking about, what's going on in the future for him and Logan Paul. And that's when Karrion Kross basically says how, not enough people are giving Logan enough respect. And he said with Cena, it's not that much of a surprise, especially if you really think about it. And he goes ahead and continues on, and he said, maybe, I'll challenge Logan next week to a match in Madison Square Garden. And then Kross said, God knows my evil ways. And Kross said, that was easy, and smiled. So he's trying to manipulate and get under the skin of the faces, it seems like, but they have big plans for Karrion Kross. They disbanded the group of the Fallen Testament around him. AOP is gone. It's basically Scarlett is kind of an afterthought, unfortunately, but they are doing things with Karrion coming up. And I'm curious to see because his character is excellent. He's great in the ring. If you go back to NXT, he had an amazing run. Like you really can do things with him. And like you said, they're giving new people a chance. They're always developing for the future. They gave Lyra and Ivy a ton of time here. It was like a 10-minute match. It was damn good. They had the commercial break. You had that awesome suplex, and then she gets in the corner for the big boot. She dodges it, and Lyra gets that backbreaker and then the Nightwing and picks up the win. The selling was great. I liked everything about it here.
That's just differences that you can see under Triple H and Vince, like because he would never allow them to go that long.
No, and then on top of it too, you have more storytelling tonight with, obviously Ivy Nile and the Creed brothers losing, while Chad is out currently, as we see behind me, with this crazy buck. So Chad is doing his own little vignette. He's out looking for the ways to topple Lucha, and he finds some dark arts master, trades some money for a box, looks inside, smiles big, and we don't know what's in there. So I hope it's not going to be like, the cage with the spider inside that we saw come around forever, but Rowan had that thing for months on end with no big reveal. This seems like they have a plan, though. I'm excited to see what we get. There's a lot to it, and it could be Aleister Black. He's got the dark arts school. It
I
seems
could,
like that's a possibility.
but
But even
I
if
could
it's
see that.
not, you know,
I'm not sure if it would be Aleister Black. I guess it makes the most sense, but like
it makes
with
less
him
now.
and
It made more sense, I think, before, but now with this box, I'm not so sure. So it seems like they're going their own way with it. I'm still intrigued. I am curious, and it's not jumped the ship at all. Chad's great as a heel, but he's also incredibly funny too. So he's got a good sense of humor. He makes me laugh while still being an evil bastard. I'm curious where they go from this, and we saw also quickly Seth, and she was going to be talking to Jackie, but that's when he spotted Punk, and they started brawling again. We got Ludwig Kaiser in the ring. Basically, he's challenging Penta. Penta came out, and they kind of started to fight with each other, and we're gonna see where that goes. I more from Penta is great. We got the Zero Miedo thing. I wish he would just. He's done that for his entire career since he's gotten that over. I wish he would calm down with the Zero Miedo a little bit. Like he's got to do it every 3 seconds. But that's always been a Penta thing. He's great in the ring. He's always exciting. As we mentioned, the other day, we were hoping for Phoenix to eventually get released from Guantanamo Bay, and we got that news on Sunday that he is officially free at last. Free at last. So, do you see him coming in sooner than later? Do you think he comes in before Mania? After? What do you expect?
I think he does come in before Mania because maybe there's going to be some sort of big tag team title ladder match like they did last year at Mania. Like you
That's
can
kind of
have
my thought. Yeah.
they're together. Uh, yeah, I do say he comes in before Mania. I hear Rusev is supposed to be coming back. I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but
Yeah,
I
he
think
was
he would be.
wrestling in overseas, against Alberto Del Rio right now. So that's kind of a negative for him. But
I
yeah,
know he still wrestles. Alberto Del Rio still wrestles.
yeah, way overseas, like Middle East time. But then we got
Yeah.
Bianca out there. They were kind of talking for a bit, and she says, I feel guilty what happened between Jade and Naomi, but I'm proud of what I accomplished. And she's like, I'm going to be paying attention between Rhea and Io, and you can't spell WrestleMania without EST. So we eventually got the War Raiders taking on the Creed brothers for the tag titles. Another great match here. They gave them, again, a really solid amount of time. I enjoyed this, about a 12-minute match. What a big hit to the outside. I mean, they went ahead at one point, and Ivar got that shooting star press with the "This is awesome" chant near fall. That was really good. There was one point in time where Eric was on the outside, I think it was, and he smashed one of the Creeds into like the apron LED. That looked brutal. That was a lot of fun. So these guys, they eventually hit the War Machine on Brutus, and they pinned him, get the win.
And what did Chad say to the Creed brothers and Ivy? Like he wants them all to have gold when he comes back, and you know what's going to happen? The exact opposite. They're all going
Exactly.
to get
So
him frustrated because he's out there doing good, and he's improving himself, and while they're just on continuing to fail.
yeah, you made a great point, my friend, because they went ahead and they told two stories tonight, essentially with or one story, but with two different parts. And they had, obviously Lyra lose or retain over Ivy, and now the Creed brothers lost over the War Raiders. And it was just like, oh, damn, both sides of Chad's group had a chance. They both had title matches. They both lost. He's got this box that he's coming back with. It all is coming into play. So nothing amazing by any means, but it's all a fun, continuing story. It makes sense. It was a really good match. The crowd got into it. Obviously, they didn't show what's in the box, but just it could be a lucha mask. It could be anything at this point. It could be, nudes of Stephanie. I don't know what they got going on, but something's in there that's going to be a big deal. So I'm certainly excited.
What it could be. I can't even process what it could be.
I'm not sure. All the speculation I'm seeing, there's a few decent answers, but the more wild the speculation has been, the more fun. We'll see what happens. But the tag time ladder match Liz thinks should be on the SmackDown side. She's not entirely wrong with DIY, Motor City Machine Guns and whatnot. But I feel like the Raw side has been a bit neglected as far as, we got the 2 out of 3 falls match at the Rumble. So it'd be good to see Raw get the bigger side of things, I think. And the Raw tag division has been lacking. So getting Phoenix in there, that's another big team that can get some wins. I think they can, they got the New Day still as heels. They got the Creed brothers, but get a few other teams, get some eventual call ups from NXT, and you can really flesh out this division. Then we had the little mix up between Braun Breaker and Finn Balor. Braun's over in the press area with Kathy, and Finn's in the ring. He's trying to, lay a plan out for Braun. Braun comes down. He avoids Carlito, throws him out of the way. Dom tries to attack next. He gets taken out. He gets in the ring, starts to take out Finn. Finn gets pulled away before he gets speared, and he runs on the outside and spears Carlito. Pretty simple, but I'm excited for this match. I've always been a big Finn Balor fan, obviously. Braun Breaker is incredible, one of the fastest there is today. So,
Is Braun Breaker a face or a heel? I can't tell anymore.
I can't tell either. I think they're working on slowly turning him face. It feels like that's their goal here, because he's gotten such a great response from the fans. People are barking for him and cheering for him. I think they're doing that tweener thing where, like, hey, we don't want to just do the instant turn because now he's getting a good reaction. Oh, now I'm face. I think they're just going to gradually have him keep kicking ass and being one of those people that, like, he's a bully, he's a bit of a dick, but he's so damn impressive in the ring that fans just want to see him dominate.
He's fucking incredible.
He is. Like I said, literally one of the fastest people in the ring. It's scary how fast he moves.
I don't even know how to fathom how he runs that fast.
Great choice of words there, because it is just impossible to imagine. He moves at such an incredible pace. When he lines himself up and starts running and he bounces off those ropes, you see the ring shift at times. Absolutely incredible. So then we got a nice, cool little quick promo from Jay saying that, nobody will pick himself up but himself. And he went outside into the cold without even a shirt on and started walking away looking like a badass. And then, of course, Bianca comes out. She's going to be ringside, and we get Rhea and Io. A lot of time left for this, like well over a half an hour. Between entrances and everything, it's about 30 minutes. They gave him a 20-minute match here. Great match. Great storytelling. Obviously, it all comes down to Rhea and Bianca, kind of the turn from Bianca as far as Rhea views it. Bianca was cheering for Io. Io gets taken down to the outside and catapulted into the announce table. And Rhea gets back inside, and the ref's counting. And that's when Bianca gets down and starts cheering and motivating Io. Come on, get in the ring, get in the ring, get in there before the 10 count. And Rhea sees this as just a total betrayal. Like, you don't want to face me at Mania. You want to face her. You're rooting for her. I thought you wanted to, what is this?
Is there a story behind there where Bianca fears Rhea, or is there?
I'm not so sure. I mean, they've faced off before. They've worked together, but it doesn't seem like she fears her. But there's certainly a lack of respect. It seems like, you thought they were going to be friends, but really it's like, hey, I want to, whatever's best for me. I think that was more part of the story that again, Rhea thought she had a friend, yet it was someone looking out for themselves, making her even more isolated, like that amazing promo after. So
I think either Bianca or Rhea maybe again goes heel, because I don't think they're going to do a triple threat at Mania where all of them are faces.
I don't think so either. So it's going to be interesting. And then as well, like a few people have said, Matt the Misfit said Bianca totally set up Naomi. It feels that way, and it feels like I'm thinking Fatal 4-Way. I'm thinking Jade's going to get involved as she's attacking Bianca. Rhea's going to try and, get her title back. And then, of course, Io is the new champ. So it's interesting.
5-way even, because Naomi, I guess, would make sense too, because there's a lot of people that actually make sense in all of this stuff. Like Raquel and Liv also make sense. Everyone makes sense in this. Like,
That's
Who
everybody
has it
makes sense in a
stopped?
lot of their stories, and that's just what's enjoyable. I mean, Trek said too. They're bringing up the IC ladder match might be what happens at Mania. So if that's the case, then they don't do one for the tag teams. But there's other things they could do for multi-man tags if they don't do a ladder. I really want to see Sheamus. Yep, I agree. I want to. Liz just said it too. I want to see Sheamus win the IC title from Braun Breaker. So that's why I think they're keeping him as like a tweener. I really think Sheamus is going to capture that title at Mania this year because they want that feel good moment. He's getting ready to retire. That's the one that he hasn't gotten yet. Things are working towards, he's got fewer years left than more at this point in time. So less gas left in the tank than before, and I think they're going to want to go ahead and do that. So
I think they're
they're
gonna.
saying Jade is facing Naomi, but I'm not so sure. I mean, that could
I'm
be. It seems like Bianca's got more to do with this than we know. So
I
they
don't
said
know.
there's a lot of surprises left.
I don't know if Jade versus Naomi though like screams WrestleMania to me though.
Exactly. And that feels more just kind of like a hey, it needs to be on the card throwaway match. That screams Uso versus Uso when it didn't need to be. So, Jade and Naomi needs to be nowhere near this match. I don't know. Naomi maybe I don't think needs to be anywhere near, but Jade kind of makes sense fitting in, going for the title. She's
I
a
could see
strong
a fatal
contender.
because Jade's gonna want revenge on Bianca, but Naomi's not gonna take it too likely that Bianca set her up. If that's the case, if Bianca attacked her before the match happened, then went out to the ring,
Yeah.
but Naomi's not gonna take it lightly that Jade just beat the shit out of her either. So
Yeah, and that maybe Bianca set her up. So there's some worry, there's some intrigue, and that's the thing we don't know. So Liz and I tomorrow, hopefully, are going to be doing a thing where we kind of predict the Mania card, and then in a few weeks' time, we'll see what the actual card is and see how close we get to it. But with all these twists and turns, I mean, there's so many possibilities. Like we're saying right now, is it a fatal four-way? Is it a one-on-one? Is it a ladder match? Is it? I love this. I love the speculation, and I love that we haven't been disappointed either.
run back the Elimination Chamber for Mania.
That wouldn't be terrible either. I mean, there's ways to do this where you don't have to have everything be a multi-man or multi-woman, multi-person match, certainly, but
It seems a lot of the matches are rumored though because they're saying Roman versus Punk versus
Seth, that could have been just a way to throw us off the scent. People are saying, like I said before, it could be Punk and Rock. It could be, Punk in a three-way with Cena and Cody. It could just be, as you mentioned, the Shield triple threat minus Ambrose, and Punk takes that role.
maybe there's
There's
like
a lot that's possible.
maybe there's like a 6-man tag at Mania, like Cena, Rollins, and Rock versus Punk, Roman, and Cody.
Absolutely. So next week, I mean, we've got a lot to look forward to. You're going to be there in person, so we're going to hopefully get some good contact from you there. CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, as we said, main event in a steel cage. But we've got the New Day taking on Ray and Dragon Lee in a tornado tag team match. They got a good promo from the LWO tonight. Jey Uso versus Grayson Waller, as we mentioned, and then AJ Styles calling out Logan Paul. So that'll be live from
Looks like
Madison Square Garden Monday.
that show. I'm all
You're going to
for
have a blast. I mean, you're supposed to have Punk there as well. We'll see what else. And then this Friday on SmackDown, obviously, Cody Rhodes will be addressing the attack made by John Cena.
it.
Randy Orton.
Close the show.
Yeah, Randy Orton returns. Jade Cargill returns.
SmackDown's gonna look to be a good show too, which it's been needed because SmackDown's been.
SmackDown hasn't been great. The 3-hour format has been rough for them because they don't have exactly the same depth in the roster they have on Raw. And I mean, if you can write a good 2-hour show, you can write a good 3-hour show, but with the way things have been, with the stories they're trying to tell, it hasn't lived up to what Raw has been doing, but it hasn't been awful either. It hasn't been as must-see, but it hasn't been terrible. So
I heard the draft's coming back, so hopefully that will help.
yes, we'll be having the draft right after Mania again, supposedly. That's the rumors going around at this point. And then tonight, we've got
that draft. They
yeah,
need to do.
they need it desperately. They're going to need to desperately shake things up. And of course, tonight, NXT. Funny enough, I am so excited for this upcoming match. So we've got 3 matches announced. We've got Kalani Jordan against Jada Parker. That should be great. Tony D taking on Shawn Spears. So I'm thinking Shawn might take the title tonight with his new group there.
I think Sean takes it.
Yeah, and then we have the women's U.S. champion Chelsea Green and Piper Niven from SmackDown coming over to take on Sol, Ruka, and Zarya. I think those two, Ruka and Zarya, are going to be really challenging for the women's tag team titles, either at Stand and Deliver, over that way, or Mania. So they'll be pointing to one of the signs. I think that's going to happen. I really, really like the teaming and pairing of these two. The odd couple thing that they have going on. The little vignettes they created of them trying to work together, become more of a team, has been very entertaining. All in all, I'm excited for tonight. Love that. Tomorrow night, besides the WWE WrestleMania prediction show with Liz, tomorrow night I'll be live, likely with Spaz. We'll be going over the premiere of Evolve on Tubi tomorrow night. The new Wednesday Night War, WWE Evolve, making their debut episode on Tubi. We'll be live after that, discussing what happened, what went down, just to check it out, see what the new show is all about, and see what it does to AEW's viewership, right?
Oh my God! If that outdraw, if that outdraws AEW, I don't know what to say anymore.
If the developmental affects AEW, then they've really got some problems. And,
But
and last,
diehards will still defend it somehow.
they will find a way, of course. And then last but
Tony
not least,
look for the goes.
we're hearing that upcoming UK tour. Fans are not happy to hear. Unfortunately, they made some changes. So Punk was originally confirmed. He'll be there on the March 17th Raw in Brussels, and then he'll be at the SmackDown show in Bologna on March 21st, and then from London the 28th. But he will no longer be appearing at the Raw show on March 24th and March 31st, both in Glasgow and London. So he's been removed from the website, and all social media promotions have been deleted. So they allowed fans to purchase tickets thinking he would be there for that, but he won't. So interesting. He'll also be taking on Gunther on a house show tour for the road to WrestleMania. So unfortunate to hear that Punk won't be at two of the planned shows, but I wonder what they've got going on for him, and what takes place. Do they have someone write him off, or is it just something going on for him? We'll have to see.
I think it's going to be a write-off.
I think it might be. I think they might do something for a couple of weeks, and we'll see what comes of it. But I that's always been the issue with WrestleMania time, and it is difficult because you want to see the same stars there every week, and when you have anyone in the part-time world, it's difficult to have that come to fruition. So I get it, but hopefully they're able to have people there on a more regular basis. One other news story I wanted to bring up here quickly before we get out as well. I was going to mention it before, but it's real. The NWA and WWE are working together. Shockingly.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, so they announced that at the 2025 Crockett Cup this year. So May 17th, WWE superstar Natalya will be in action at the ECW Arena in Philadelphia. So tickets are on sale now for NWEvents.liveevents.com. But the fact that they're working with NWA is incredible. Not something I saw on my bingo card, but WWE is just continuing their advancement into everywhere, working with everyone. They're just truly becoming global. Yeah, that's true. We're going to see if Tubi even releases numbers on Evolve. That would be interesting to see. We're not seeing any max numbers come out for AEW shows, so I don't know if we'll get any for the Evolve ones, but it would be good. But yeah, WWE. I'm curious too. That we don't get more info on that with the max numbers.
It's not as good as they thought, so they want to keep it.
That's the only thought everybody's thinking. They're, because if the numbers were great, they'd be bragging from the rooftops. Hey, we're getting over 1 million viewers just because it's not all on TV. We're doing great on Max. But not hearing any peep from them on that front is certainly worrisome. That's for damn sure.
I'm trying to sound biased. I know people will probably think I'm sounding biased towards AEW, and I'm very critical of them lately because they deserve it. I don't think Tony is a good booker at all. He needs to find someone else that knows what they're doing, because if we continue with this just good matches, the company's going to die.
it basically can live for as long as Tony wants to pour money into it.
Like what CM
But
Punk said, right? As long as he wants to fund it.
exactly, because they're not financially viable at this point. They're basically just surviving off of him putting money in. You know, oh, they had this great media rights deal, but then they're not earning enough to cover back. So a lot of issues. Tony, he's not a bad booker, but he needs help. He never really was a booker. He didn't have wrestling world experience. And when he started, they were basically booking what being the elite was, just in a longer format. And he had the elite helping him with ideas, matches, and storylines. So that's how you could see their focal point come out in the Dynamite weekly shows. Now we've kind of gotten to a point where even when Tony's not totally hands-on, we're hearing there's no production meetings, things come out looking awkward or Bush League, you know, and without those production meetings, you see it a lot where they'll go to cut to something and then people are just standing there awkwardly, or they don't know what's going to next and people just stand there in the ring waiting, or you'll see somebody that's supposed to be unconscious bleeding, punching themselves in the head, Christopher Daniels. So, I mean, we've seen these problems, and as WWE continues to be exemplary and shine. They're not perfect, but they're still damn entertaining. And as we get this continued wrestling renaissance, I worry that AEW is just going to continually fall by the wayside. And they're not doing enough to develop bigger stars and names. They're just trying to go off of what previously established feuds they have.
With the bleeding angle last, oh my god, that was just
that was embarrassing. So we're seeing Raw on Netflix for
the. With that though, like, did they cut back early?
It seemed like, so I don't know if he had bladed or just had a previous cut, but the cut was bleeding. It looked like they put makeup around his neck. I don't think he had that much blood, but he definitely had a real cut because you could see it leak a little bit, but it looked like it stopped bleeding at that point. So he was doing an old school thing of, you know, you put the knuckle into your head and you get the cut to bleed again. So he was trying to get the blood to spurt again. But I think they just either cut to him too soon or he didn't realize they were cutting to him yet. There was no, and then also when Hangman goes in the back, you have the cameramen standing in the way. And then when they finally realize it, they do this terrible like crouch crab walk to get out of the way. Like, these are the things, like, I know it's live TV, I know things happen, but when you have so many of these issues on the show repeatedly, it just looks second rate in Bush League, really.
Live TV, people are like, well, AEW is only this amount of years old. WWE, WWE doesn't have those problems, and they didn't really back in the day either when they were just starting with live TV, so they didn't have those problems that much then either. So
no, because Vince always ran lengthy production meetings. I mean, even Cornette said for OVW TV, which was seen by sometimes 200 people at a time, they put in more effort, it felt like, than this. We look at, you know, Trek just mentioned it with the Thunder Rosa angle and how Bush League and awful that looks. She didn't swing the chair because she wants to be safe. But really, as every other face has ever said, I'm going to swing for the fences. You don't get out of the way, that's your fault. Really should have been her stance there because they made her look like a total dud and just so ineffective. What a joke. But it's all from miscommunication. Apparently they weren't trying to sandbag her. They were told to stand there and stand strong, and she was told to clear house. So everybody's miscommunication. That's why the girls are standing there trying to grab the chair like, what are you doing? And she's like, what are you doing? So in the end of the day, I don't know if they don't have enough experience to pick up on, you know, in the meantime, hey, let's make this, you know, change happen so it looks right. But instead it just fell apart and everybody looks miserable. So not a great look at all.
Nope.
Unfortunately. But again, I know we covered Raw. We gave you the previews this week for NXT, SmackDown, and WWE NXT tonight. We'll be live again, as I said, tomorrow night for the to-be premiere of WWE Evolve, and then we'll also be live this weekend for a bit of a crazy stream for AEW Revolution. Should be fun. And then you can also catch me this week on the Spaz Phoenix channel for the State of Wrestling. Cody, where could the people find you, my good man?
On Twitter, Judgment Day Era, or you can follow me on Instagram, Cody_Onidi, ONIDI_316.
Hell yeah, absolutely. We'll pull those in the description box down below. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to everybody that came and hung out. This was just a little random throwdown, you know, breaking down Raw news and rumors, having fun, hanging out. Wanted to go ahead and talk to you great people. I hope everybody in the chat is having a great day. Make sure you guys let me know in the comments section down below What match do you want to see added to the WrestleMania card the most? And what did you give Raw out of 10? Let me know. And as always, I thank you all. Thank you, Cody, for being here. I hope you all have a great day. Stay sexy, and we'll see you soon.